Hello YouTube, my name's Pat, and over the last 6 months I've been developing this box joint jig which allows you to make custom box joints in an accurate, repeatable and very straightforward way. And in this video I'm going to show you all about it. We're going to go over the features, I'm going to go through some of the projects I've made with it, the benefits of using it, some different variants that other people have made and why I've chosen the design features I have, and all that good stuff. And I do have plans available and we'll get to that at the end. But for now, let's get into it. So the way this works is we have a 3D printed key which traces a custom template to make quick, easy, repeatable and accurate finger joints. The templates can range from 20 millimeters up to 150 millimeters, so that will cover most boxes and drawers that you're going to come across. These templates can be created as one piece with both one for the male counterpart and one for the female counterpart, or as individual fingers, which can then be used on the rail system to create custom patterns on the fly. So some additional features that I've included is a zero clearance insert, we've got a micro adjustable stop block, and a snap lock blade cover just for safety purposes. The jig utilizes hold down clamps, which I've designed in a way with ease of removability. I use my hold down clamps for a whole bunch of various jigs and tools, and so it's really convenient to just be able to take them out. Also makes storing things a lot easier and just a bit neater and tidier when using it. All the hardware to make this is just generic screws and bolts that you can get from any big box store. All you'll need is a 3D printer or access to one, as well as some MDF. I've cut mine on the CNC. However, I will have plans available which can be made without a CNC. However, some features will have to be simplified, but the core function will be entirely there.
Okay, so the initial jig happened when I got a commission job for 10 of these boxes. These boxes are used as display cases for pendants, and the design was specified by the client, and that was really important to her. And because she specifically wanted the 12mm fingers, and the method I was going to use to make them was to glue up the box with the lid intact, and then cut the lid off to then, put the hinges on and have it act as an actual lid. I had to make it in a way where it would compensate for that curve cut. So one of the fingers had to be, rather than 12mm, be 15.4mm to, compensate for the curve. The simple way of doing this would just be to, set the table saw up, do all of the cuts for one of the joinery, move it, do all of the cuts on all 10 boxes, move it again, and do all the joinery in one go, and just set the table saw up essentially just one time for each full pattern. However, I live in southeast Queensland. It was in the middle of the summer. I'm in a barn shed, which is not heat controlled. And it was absolutely terrifying for me to have 10 full panels that are ready to glue up, exposed to the temperature and the climate, and I can't glue them up. I had enough clamps for maybe 3. I ended up doing 2 per day. But yeah, so that wasn't really an option to do it that way, and I just didn't really want to go through the process of constantly setting up the table saw. It was just begging for inconsistencies and all that stuff. So I went to YouTube for the answers, and I saw the popular video by the Woodfather. Now he'd essentially made this jig 4 or 5 years ago, and the proof of concept was there. His version is pretty rudimentary, he was using a drill bit for the pin, and just filing it down to size, and there was just a lot of things that were just very sort of like a proof of concept, right, rather than an iterated on design. There was also the Incra version, which is like a commercial version available, but that's obviously like $550 Australian, and that just wasn't an option, right, for something like this. So I saw those and I'm like, I could definitely design something and modernize it, and I really wanted to utilize 3D printing to add a lot of these cool features in, at a very, very minimal cost. The popularity of 3D printers in woodworking, and the ease of access, even if you don't have one, someone within 10 kilometers of you probably is offering the service of 3D printing on Marketplace. In worst case scenario, you can just go to some commercial place. It just seemed like a no-brainer to just do it with 3D printing and 3D modeling. So after the initial proof of concept was successful, I just kept iterating on it, mainly focusing on the ease of use and the ergonomics of the jig, and just like tidying up all the design things. There's some features that I would still like to iterate on, but at this point I've just spent too much time on it and I haven't really shown people and seen if there's any interest out there, so for my specific version at least. So yeah, here we are, right? This is what I got, and most of it's like 95% of what I'm happy with just a couple little caveats, which is kind of annoying, but that's okay.
Okay, so this is just how the jig functions in a really basic sense. And fundamentally, it's just a crosscut sled, right? And we've essentially just got a high fence that we've made up to be able to hold vertical pieces. And then I'm going to bring the camera around to the back side and explain what's going on with the templates. Okay, so these are the templates, and that's representing the female part of the box joint, and that's representing the male. Now that looks like a female because we need something to reference as the end of the board. So if we actually just sort of, that's what it's actually going to come out as. And how we use that reference is we plonk this in here and we tighten that down. And now our pin will come along to this reference, and that is the end of the board, right? We're going to reference that there. Now we use our adjustment to make sure that that edge of the board is actually lined up to the curve of the blade. And we can use this micro adjustment to push it in forward and backwards, a fair bit. We've got probably like 40 mils or so of play there to get it exactly aligned, right? That's basically how it works. This thing is essentially, this key is representing the blade, and the templates we can pre-make to specific sizes or using in the fingers, as I'll demonstrate a bit later, to create whatever pattern we so please within about 20 mils to about 150 mils. And yeah, that's the basic function of the jig. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate the ease of use of using it by just making a simple little pen box. So I'm just going to film it all, and I'm going to have a timer up to show you like how expedient it can be, and just go from there. Let's get it.
Okay, so the first step was to just design the box. I've used some AI and created some scripts to come up with these cool patterns, and I'll show them a bit later when we get to the plan section, but I'm just using one of these here for the lid, right? And yeah, nothing fancy going on, just basic box joint. I've got like, what do you call it? The floor is just inserted into the box as you're gluing it up with some dados in the side of the wall. And then yeah, it was on to programming it for my CNC. I just cut the panels on the CNC because it's really straightforward. And here you can see the template I've got prepped for 3D printing, as well as all the cam. I'm going to do a separate video on like how to do all this, just making a box start to finish, including like writing all the toolpaths, and 3D printing the thing and whatnot. But for the sake of the demo, it's just like, that was the order I did it in. Okay, so here I'm just 3D printing the template. I've got what's probably considered an entry-level printer at this point, which is just a Bamboo Lab A1. Yeah, readily available, but honestly, it's been fantastic. And even as you can see, where it's not exactly in the cleanest condition in the world, it still performs pretty much flawlessly, with the only issues I've ever had with it largely due to the temperatures in which I'm printing in fluctuating, or the filament I'm using, just not being stored in the most optimal ways. But that's, user error really. Okay, so the next step, I just got some scrap wood that I had from, something, and just ran it through the planer, got it down to size. I'm going to cut the panels on the CNC, so I just needed a simple board to the right thickness. Okay, next, so the panels took about 20 minutes to cut on the CNC. I'm not going to include the CNC time for the lid in terms of this documentation, because I'm mainly focused on the jig and what it's used for, as opposed to the whole build time for the project. But I think that ended up taking an hour and a half or something, mainly because the pattern on top was just a relief carving, and anyone anyone who's done CNC work knows that yeah, they just take a while because you got to do very small step over passes. Okay, so the total time for cutting the joinery was 12 minutes. 4 minutes of that was set up, and 8 minutes of that was cutting the actual joinery. Admittedly, the jig was set up from the prior use, so I didn't need to do too much setup outside of adjusting the height and getting that fancy, and one slight adjustment to the fence. But yeah, it's pretty expedient. You know, anything under 20 minutes for custom joinery, like I'm pretty stoked with, especially when it's so reliable and repeatable. I've seen other people's designs using like a sort of threaded rod system where you wind the thread to create your template, essentially, like you're winding at the distance you want. And I like the idea and the repeatability of it, but the practical application of like just doing it manually is just oftentimes way more expedient and just simpler, honestly. Like once you get the hang of it, it becomes a very, very quick process. And you can get really, really good results from it. So I did have to do a bit of sanding with these ones, just tidying them up the edges a little bit, a couple minutes of sanding. But I got some really, really nice joinery. You'll see it's like a tolerance fit where it just slightly comes out when you shake it a bit, and that's how I like the joints. And as you can see, yeah, they came out pretty good. Okay, so the total work time was about an hour 20. Most of that was just passive, waiting for the 3D printer and the CNC machine to do their thing. Obviously, like if you're not using a CNC to cut your panels, that's going to go up a bit. But realistically, under an hour for like custom joinery box joints, like I call that a big win, and I'm really, really happy with that. And it's probably even quicker if you've got the templates made or you use the fingers to make your own templates on the fly. Like, so yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I mean, most of us would probably spend that long setting up and dialing in the tables or each cut.
So this is the box after all said and done, and there's a bit of chip out on the lid that I got on the router table, but that's okay. I should mention that with the plans as well, I've got 4 of these little lid designs. So these are all obviously just cut on a CNC. Here's another one with the hexagons. And that's what I call the braid box. Yeah, just nice little designs that work well for a lid or maybe a drawer front of some sort. But yeah, pretty straightforward little box. Yeah, and good size to just store a few pens in. And then, nice, good stuff. Nice little ornament to sit on the desk. Also, like pro tip, all your little test boxes, if you are learning this, can just be used for all your bolts and drill bits and all that good fun stuff around the workshop, because Lord knows I need a whole bunch of containers for that. Okay, so in this clip, I'm doing a test joint on a piece of marabou. Marabou is an Australian decking timber, and it's a relatively hard hardwood, and it's a lot harder than MDF, that's for sure. And I'm doing this to demonstrate the difference that a very slight differentiation in the key size can make to the tolerance of the joints. So I'm cutting this with a 3.3 millimeter key size. However, as will be demonstrated in just a second, it's just far too tight. Like, I have to use a hammer to bang it in, and you know, in any reasonable assembly, that's just going to be an absolute nightmare, and it's just begging for things to go out of square and just not be fully seated and all that kind of awful stuff. So as I'll show in a second, I just changed the key size down because a smaller key will mean it will travel further within the joint, thus making a bigger joint, further within the template, sorry, thus making a bigger joint. And yeah, just that 0.05 adjustment in key size is the difference between something that's just far too tight and requires a hammer to get together, and something that fits nicely with that sort of loose tolerance fit that I think is perfect for the joints that I like. Joint, like where it's tight, it's a tolerance fit, but you know, you can still sort of loosen it manually and wriggle it around. So you can get glue in there as well. Okay, so this is the key that sits
along the shelf and it acts as the micro adjust. It's essentially a 3D print. Well, it is a 3D print, and inside it we have got, if we look from the top, there's two caveats where during the 3D print, and I'll show you how to do this, it's very straightforward. I insert a nut and then it just prints over the top, and then it stops again and I insert a nut and it prints over the top, and we end up with two nuts in there. And then as we thread our bolt through, the double nut kind of acts as a way to counteract any backlash and just tighten the thread in general against each other, because one will be pushing slightly that way, one will be pushing slightly that way. And it works really, really well to create a very simple micro adjust mechanism. Alright, so this is just a quick demo of the pattern generation app that I've made for Fusion, or that AI's made for Fusion. So super quick demo. You just have 4 different patterns. This is called the braid, this is called the honeycomb. Over here we've got the ripple, and over here I think this is called the diamond effect. I forget the specific name. But yeah, it's just a script that creates these tiles, and it's really, really easy to use. It's got a interface where you can just choose your tiles, the size, the border thickness, the thickness of the actual plate, so whatever stock you're using, as well as like tons of options for changing the patterns, and it even updates it on the visual display over here. Pretty crazy, right? Like the AI made this in like 5 minutes. It's kind of crazy. Admittedly, it was a fair few iterations to get it functioning just right, but you know, pretty dang good. Yeah, there's more info about it there, but basically just do that, click build, and then wait a couple minutes and it'll pop out these patterns. I would recommend doing one at a time if you do use it, otherwise it can slow down the PC to the point where it's just completely frozen. But you know, if you just do one at a time, leave it for a minute or two, come back and you've got yourself a handy dandy little box lid or drawer front, who knows.
Okay, so just quickly I want to go over the blade cover with the snap block. Yeah, it's just a basic thing. Obviously with this design I put the screw there, but I've changed that so there's like 3 screws just down here, and yeah, not through the center I should say, they're on diagonal, so it's all gravy. And then it's just a little snap block, all these like slightly flex in, and yeah, just get it in and out that way, because there is, on the actual version, I've sort of been lazy on this one because I had to replace the fence, but there's some bolts that hold the zero clearance insert on that side. I haven't got them in on this one, but honestly they're probably unnecessary. And there's also some bolts that go through down the bottom. Now these are pretty small M2, so you're going to need like, as you can see, a pair of like needle nose pliers or something to just tighten them up, but it's not really an issue. Most people have them and it's pretty straightforward. In terms of the clamps as well, as you can see on the base with the 3D prints, you've got these covers which just stop the clamps from going down and falling through when you're moving the sled around, and then you can get them in when you put it the right way in, at least. And we just do that. Now I initially tried T-Track, but I just found with these hold down clamps, because these are aluminium ones, like when I put any amount of pressure on the T-Track ones, it just ripped it out of the MDF. And I was using epoxy, right? And so it wasn't just like super glue or screws or anything. And just with this, the way I've designed it is it's like with the 18 mil thick MDF, that's about 10 mils of MDF that's got to get through. And like, yeah, I can just reliably put more clamping pressure than is probably needed for holding down pieces. Super useful. You can just put it on either side, so you can do and that's like really, really handy as well when you're just doing like basic cross cuts even. And so yeah, similar deal on the fence here. I really like the ability to take them in and out, and just use them wherever, because one, it's just like neater and easier to store, but two, I use these, as mentioned before, I use these on a lot of other jigs, and it's just handy to just be able to swap them in and out. Again, there's the 3D printed inserts. which it's all in the files and stuff, which just go in. Obviously, for the non-CNC version, these probably won't be available, so you'll just have to make the slot and have no backing for it. It'll still function entirely like perfectly if you do choose to do it that way. It's just it's just a bit neater and tidier, but it'd be kind of hard to make these unique shapes without a CNC. Probably doable, but probably more effort than you'd get for the return of it. Okay, so let's talk about the fingers for a little bit. Take a look at the fingers. It's just essentially like a T slot. I tried a dovetail, but T slot was actually just a bit easier to get the tolerances right and print, because you can use a wider or a larger tolerance, and it still functions the same. On the front, there's all the indented sizing of the fingers. Each of them has both a sort of male counterpart and a female counterpart, because obviously you're going to need both of those to make patterns. So I've just created a basic little sort of like, I guess you'd call it a like storage plate or like a canvas to make your templates on. It's just like, slotted there with a little entry thing, so you can put this in a thing and still slide it in from the top. But it just slides in and just holds, So it just slides in and it just holds up top. And this allows you to just like, make the patterns without the fingers going everywhere. I do apologize for the mowing going on in the background, but hey, whatever, we're just going to get this done, aren't we? Okay, so you just make your patterns like that. Cool, so once you got your pattern made, you can just come on over to the jig and just insert it. Bam, bam, bam. Do this. You can get it in about 2 at a time. When I first did it, I did it without the T-slot or even like the dovetail thing. And it worked, like it functioned. However, it was just like, as you'd imagine with these kind of like fiddly little things, if there's no like sort of thing holding it in place, a little bump and stuff and everything can fall out, and it's just annoying, especially when you need things in order. So it just really makes it a lot easier to use with the sliding little rail thing. And because I spent the time to figure out like a reasonably functional design, you just print it and it works. So with the fingers as well, obviously just with they're a bit prone to racking if you don't properly tighten it down. Like, you're going to do this for every template, but it's especially important to not forget it on this. But it's just a simple screw in, making sure they don't sort of kick up, and perfectly functional, no racking. They do a great job, and that's the fingers basically. You just create your templates that way.
Okay, so I've got all the 3D files for the fingers in increments of 2mm, so 6, 8, 10, 12, etc., ranging from 6 mils up to 20 mils, as well as in 16th increments for imperial. However, if you did need a custom finger size, I'm going to provide the Fusion file where you can just load it up, and you don't need any Fusion experience. You just load it up, come up to here to modify, come down to change parameters, and you type in the size you need. So we're just going to go, 25. And then bam, it'll update the model to be the right width. As you can see, 25mm down there, 25mm down there. It'll also change the text for you so it's easy to see. And that's that. And then once the model's been changed, all you do is you come up here and you can just go File, 3D Print. And you can only select one at a time if you do it manually like that, or you can come along to Keys, select Keys, then File, 3D Print, and it'll print both at the same time. And I've got it set up so it just sends it directly out to Bamboo Studio. As you'll see, Bamboo Studio will just start to load. Cool. So as you can see, after Bamboo Studio has loaded, it just pops the files in and you've got your custom fingers. Okay, so let's talk plans. So I've got all the 3D print files organized. You got the components all just in STL formats, as well as the Fusion 360 file for all the 3D prints. If you did want to go in and change any of the models yourself, I've also got the Fusion 360 files specifically for the key, which is parametric, so you can change it to exact sizes that you need. That's in both metric and imperial, as well as the keys, and the same deal, metric and imperial, and they're both parametric, so you can get whatever specific model. With the fingers, I've already exported I think it's in 1/8 inch all the way up to a full inch, so you got the models ready to go. And in metric, it's in increments of 2mm. And then for the key, same kind of deal. I've just exported a whole bunch of your standard sizes in imperial and metric. But if you do need a custom one, that's exactly what the Fusion file is there for. I've exported the DXFs for all the components for both the CNC and the non-CNC version, as well as provided the Fusion file for the CNC and non-CNC version as a full model for you to reference or tinker with or judge my incredibly messy workflow. And I've also exported all the DXF files for you just to use straight away, as well as them in individual STLs if you wanted to import it into your own 3D software for CAM purposes or whatnot. In the non-CNC version as well, I've provided PDF drill guides. These PDF drill guides is just the DXFs on a grid so that you can print them out in life-size things and use them as like physical drill guides, so it would be life-size templates. As you can see, it's all split up into A4 sizes that you can then piece together, and I've included that for all of them, so you don't need to worry too much about measurements and whatnot. You just need to, paste the templates and drill. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, and if there is anything else that I've missed or people are really, really sought after, I'm more than happy to add it at the end if people are interested. But at the moment, I'm just gonna leave it for what it is and see if people are interested at all. So, yeah. Okay, so I've just got the website, pjwwoodcraft.com. It's all linked in the description below. Just come up here and come to the plan section. And yeah, it's just here. It's on sale for 20% off as I just start out. And yeah, it comes with all the files you need, everything I've shown before, a bit of a description, some pictures, all this good stuff. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or just contact me directly with my email below. And yeah, thanks a lot.
So I'm in the process of editing up an assembly video as well for the box joint. This video is already far too long, so I wanted to keep it separate, but it just goes over the assembly of it. It's pretty straightforward, but it's always nice to have a reference, right? As well as a setup and first use included in that video, which will just go over it step by step of how to set it up and dial it in. And yeah. Alright, so if you made it this far, thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to start making some more videos. In case you couldn't tell from the video, my shed is kind of a reflection of my mind, and it's a total mess, and I got to start organising that. And so I'm just going to start with some dust collection stuff. I've already kind of half done it. I'll cut some footage in. I've made like custom piping and 3D printed blast gates and all this kind of stuff, and I want to make some videos just quickly showing you how to model this stuff, because it's actually quite simple when you know how to do it. And with the 3D printer, again, like just being able to make things like that is really, really handy. So yeah, that's what's on the agenda. Like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. And yeah, I'll see you later.